Thank you, Jay. With over 1 billion subscribers since its launch back in 2016, TikTok has quickly become one of the biggest and most popular social media apps anywhere on the earth. It is now worth over $200 billion.
Launching trending dance crazes as well as businesses from creators and influencers, all of that, at least in the United States, could be on the verge of being wiped out, thanks to a bipartisan group of lawmakers who are getting closer to having the China-based app banned because of its potential use for Chinese espionage.
Joining us now, Cathy McMorris, Rodgers, chair of the House Energy and Commerce Committee, and also Oklahoma Representative Kevin Hern, who's one of the co-sponsors of the bill. Good morning to both of you. Thank you so much for giving us some time here on Morning Rush. Certainly appreciate it. Can you explain to our viewers, just as a starting point, why Congress, with the support of the president, is making this move to ban TikTok? I do want to delve deeper into former President Trump's quickly evolving position on this and some fresh reporting that's worth noting, because there's been a dramatic about-face, and Trump obviously has a lot of sway over the party. Look at the immigration bill, for example. We'll get into all of that. But first, TikTok in and of itself, can you just express to the average TikTok viewer at home why you good folks on Capitol Hill are so concerned?
Yes, TikTok has been repeatedly caught in a lie.
I'll let the chairwoman go.
To the Chinese
Congresswoman, continue. Sorry, the slight delay.
Can you hear me?
Yes, Congresswoman, the floor is yours.
Yes, so TikTok has repeatedly been caught in a lie that it is not beholden to the Chinese Communist Party through ByteDance, its parent company. And we know that we cannot trust the Chinese Communist Party. They're collecting a massive amount of data, so they can target, they manipulate, they surveil, and they can, in essence, control what Americans see on TikTok. We saw it last week, even when we were voting on the bill in the committee, when they blocked TikTok users from getting onto the app until they called their member of Congress. So TikTok and ultimately the Chinese Communist Party cannot be trusted. They cannot be trusted to safeguard our data or to uphold American values of freedom. So this is we see this as a national security threat. This is a tool, this is a destructive tool that is controlled ultimately by the Chinese Communist Party. This bill will force TikTok to make a choice. So TikTok will either have to choose if it wants to maintain the current relationship that it has with ByteDance and ultimately being controlled by the Chinese Communist Party, or the legislation would force it to divest, which means it would have to sell and break away from ByteDance in order to remain operating in the United States of America. It's TikTok's choice to make.
And Kevin, I want to ask you about what Rob was just talking about. We know that President Biden supports the legislation and vows to sign the bill into law. President Trump, on the other hand, has done some shifting on his stance now, raising some concerns that his indication that he may not be supportive of an all-out TikTok ban. We heard from Lindsey Graham. He was talking to Meet the Press, and he's conflicted about this situation. So let's take a quick listen to that.
Banning TikTok, maybe that's necessary to protect American data from China, but if you can find a way to avoid that, that'd be good too.
You were a strong supporter of it in 2020, though. Do you no longer support it?
I understand people like TikTok. I would like to keep TikTok running, but not have our data used by the Communist Chinese Party.
How will you vote on this?
I don't know yet. I mean, I'm just being honest with you. I am definitely conflicted.
So much like the immigration bill, Trump said something and said that it was not a good idea for the party at the moment, and things change. So do you have any concerns or worries that Trump will sway your colleagues against the ban and that he may have too much control right now?
No. In fact, I think if you're a Republican, you agree with everything that the former president said, that Facebook and others, we saw what happened with what they did in the election. And certainly, there's concern. We had the director of national intelligence just come out 2 days ago saying that there is credible evidence that TikTok is going to be used to interfere with this election. There was a time in this country we sought out, during the Cold War, we sought out spies. We don't have to seek them out now. They're in every household, 150 million households across America now. And listen, I think we need to be perfectly clear, and the chairwoman said this, we're not out to ban TikTok. we're out to ban the ownership of TikTok by the Chinese Communist people. And that's what's really important to know, is that, President Xi acts like he's a, free democracy, and he's the president of that. His official title is the General Secretary of the Chinese Communist Party. And I think we need to understand what we're dealing with here is an adversarial nation as described by Congress, one of the five, being China, Russia, North Korea, Iran, and Venezuela. And we're just saying that China cannot own TikTok if it's going to continue to do business in the United States of America.
And Congresswoman, there's always, I feel like there's always certain issues that, Congress wants to inject itself in. And I understand there's some urgency here. But at the same time, I also wonder, this thing's been around for 8 years, makes a ton of money, with a ton of people. Is the horse already out of the gate on this one? Has China already inflicted the damage that it wants to? Allegedly.
Well, the concern only grows. We had a hearing last year, almost a year ago, with the CEO of TikTok, where the concerns among Republicans and Democrats were only heightened. We have been spending months drafting this legislation. It's a very targeted, specific approach, and clearly, this is it's been a difficult bill for us to write, and that's why it has taken us some time to get the constitutional experts to look at this bill. We've had several drafts, but what we have now is a very targeted, specific approach focused on apps that are controlled by foreign adversaries. And so this is about foreign adversaries that are seeking to destroy America, and us taking action to protect America and protect American user data on these apps. It is critical that we take action, and that is why you saw a 50-0 vote in the Energy and Commerce Committee last week. Republicans and Democrats coming together to say we need to take this action in order to protect the United States of America. China, we know the Chinese Communist Party surveils its own citizens and seeks to control its own citizens. America believes in freedom, and we must be taking action to protect Americans' freedom. And this time it means taking action on TikTok and other apps that are controlled by foreign adversaries. And I would also say we share President Trump's concerns about Meta and other big tech companies and what is happening on those platforms. We are working on privacy, data security, legislation to address that. This is legislation that's focused on apps that are controlled by foreign adversaries, and it needs to pass as soon as possible.
And let me just clarify before we go. I would ask both of you are Republicans. I want to ask you this question. There's fresh reporting out that it may not be just about Facebook that Trump is concerned about. And his opinion, let's face it, is important. He's going to clinch your nomination today and could be president of the United States again. The first time he was in the Oval Office, he asked for an executive order to ban TikTok in America. That didn't happen. And now there's fresh reporting that he met earlier this month with a major GOP mega donor, in other words, a very wealthy man who has a major financial stake in TikTok, who's against this ban. And then literally hours later came out and said, or very shortly afterwards, oh, no, I'm not for the ban, after meeting with this mega donor. My question to you, so I want folks to have the context of Trump's position on this. If Trump sticks with this position that I don't want this ban to happen, will you both vote for it, even against the wishes of your presidential candidate?
When President Trump was in the Oval Office, he sought to force TikTok to divest, to sell, to separate from ByteDance, which is controlled by the Chinese Communist Party. We are continuing that action. This is not banning TikTok. TikTok will have a choice to make as to whether or not it wants to continue to operate under its current ownership structure, ultimately controlled by the Chinese Communist Party, and then therefore not be allowed in the United States, or if they divest. And there would be opportunities for others to potentially purchase TikTok. They could go public in the United States. TikTok could continue to operate. It would have to be separated from ByteDance, which is controlled by a foreign adversary, the Chinese Communist Party, and that is listed in the bill. This is TikTok's choice to make. And I
so
think
this bill has your support regardless of Trump's public posture. This bill has your support regardless of
Absolutely.
Trump. Okay,
This legislation needs to pass, and we shared President Trump's concern about other big tech companies, including Meta, and we're working on legislation to address and protect America's privacy and data security.
Fair enough. Congressman, last word goes to you. Same question.
Oh, absolutely. In fact, the banning of the ownership of TikTok by the Chinese party is just part of a broader bill that I introduced last week in countering communist China and what they're doing on the southern border, what they're doing with the Belt and Road initiatives, what they're doing in funding Iran, and what they're funding Russia and the chips that go into the drones that are bombing Ukraine right now. So this is a broader piece of legislation that we put forward last week. But absolutely, and I think the president, when you talk about banning TikTok, as the chairwoman said, there's not many things happen in a bipartisan way in Washington, D.C. And I would argue it wasn't just bipartisan, it was unanimous. And so when you look at the data that's going on about what China's trying to do to us in the national security front, and you couple that with their leading they're being a leader in the industry of AI. AI can only exist if you have a lot of data. And certainly what the chairwoman did in the Energy and Commerce Committee is truly remarkable in the day of the partisan politics that's going on in Washington, D.C.
All right, Cathy McMorris Rodgers, chair of House Energy and Commerce Committee, and Representative Kevin Hern, thank you both for your time. We appreciate it.